You're also an author, I believe, of 5 books, one of which we have here right now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the newest one, Geeks, Geezers, and Googlization.
Okay.
It's about the 4 generations working in the workplace. We did a show a couple months ago, or maybe last year, about this time. And the topics were about workforce trends and some of the events that are happening now in the workplace.
Okay. Well, things have changed since we last have talked. But let's talk about what is the state of the market?
It's a good question. You know, it's confusing because if you open the paper, and just the other day, 2 days ago, I think, they announced that the jobless rate, the unemployment rate, there's still a lot of people unemployed. There's no question about it. Unemployment rate is still fairly high. You know, locally, it's dipping. You know, it's falling, and it's certainly better off than it is in some places. But you know, we're still hovering around that 8%, and that also doesn't include a lot of the people that have just given up work, and it looks like the unemployment numbers will benefits may be extended, but you know that's going on over 2 years now. So there's a lot of people that are still out of work and will continue to be out of work. Yet I work on the employer side, and the employers are having a very difficult time finding qualified people. Now, which seems a paradox. I mean, it seems to be the absolute opposite. And I know a lot of the employers feel, employees or the candidates, you know, feel that they just don't want to pay the money. Okay. And frankly, for many jobs, they're willing to pay. They just can't find enough qualified people.
Wow. You had a case in point we were talking about a little bit earlier, too.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things. I just, before I walked in, I got an email on my BlackBerry, and the request was for a test, a skill test for 8th grade literacy and computer literacy at the 8th grade level. And I emailed back because I didn't know if this was for a school or type of criteria qualification. And the problem is that the current test that they're using was disqualifying too many people. And they wanted a test that at least guaranteed that the individual had an 8th grade literacy rate. Or an 8th grade reading comprehension. And just prior to this, this morning, I have a radio show. It's called Workforce Trends. And on that radio show, I was interviewing another author, Ed Gordon. And he has more statistics than I do, believe it or not. And he was talking that 95% of the current U.S. population does not have, it falls below 8th grade literacy for math, reading, comprehension, and verbal abilities. The 95 million.
Yeah.
95 million, not 95%, but 95 million. That's about 1/3 of our population of workers falls below, of the total population, not below that, but of adult population, so it doesn't include the kids. Adult population falls below that 8th grade literacy, because if you roll the clock back 30 or 40 years ago, if you had an 8th grade literacy rate, you could get a job. You can get a steady job in the blue-collar world, and those jobs are essentially gone. So a lot of the jobs that's significant, that changed, going back to your original question, that changed since 2007, 2008, a lot of the jobs that were shed, especially in manufacturing, are gone. They're just gone forever. They will never be back. And despite government effort to recreate these jobs, they just can't recreate a job that can be done overseas for, you know, even at minimum wage, and be able to be productive. It puts people back to work, but it's just not, it doesn't stimulate growth.
So what does this mean, Ira?
We're going to have, I mean, from an economic standpoint, we're going to have high unemployment for a while, where we got used to having 2%, 3%, 4%, and even full employment was 5%. It's going to be pretty high. I mean, locally we'll probably be better off in central Pennsylvania. It'll probably dip into the 6s, but that historically has been high here. Nationwide, if we can get in, I think they call it a victory if we got into the 7s, into the mid-7s. So there's going to be a lot of people who are unemployed for a continued amount of time, and yet we are going to continue to have more automation, more technology, more advances, and employers are going to continue